Michael Harrison had never held a cleaning rag in his life. The billionaire CEO stood in the supply closet of his own 47-story headquarters, staring at the industrial mop bucket like it was alien technology. At 45, he'd built Harrison Industries from the ground up, turning a small tech startup into a $2 billion empire. But today, he wasn't the man whose signature appeared on million-dollar contracts. Today, he was Mike Rodriguez, the new janitor. "You nervous?" asked Carlos, the head of maintenance, as he handed Michael a uniform. "Don't worry, it's not rocket science. Just keep your head down, do your work, and stay out of everyone's way." Michael nodded, pulling on the navy blue coveralls that felt foreign against his skin. The irony wasn't lost on him, staying out of everyone's way in his own building. But that was exactly the point. 3 weeks ago, Michael had overheard a devastating conversation. His board members, thinking he was out of town, had gathered in the conference room to discuss employee satisfaction issues. The words still echoed in his mind. "They hate him," one had said. "The workers think Harrison is completely disconnected from reality. They're talking about unionizing." Michael had spent 15 years believing he was a good boss. He paid competitive salaries, offered decent benefits, and kept the company profitable. But apparently, that wasn't enough. He needed to see what was really happening on the ground floor, literally. The elevator ride to the basement felt longer than usual. Michael's hands, soft from years of boardroom meetings, already ached from gripping the mop handle. As the doors opened, he stepped into a world he'd never truly seen. The basement level housed the building's maintenance hub, but it also contained something else, a small break room where the lower-level employees ate lunch. Michael had approved its construction years ago, but had never visited it. Now, as he wheeled his cart past the doorway, he could see inside. The room was cramped and poorly lit. Fluorescent bulbs flickered overhead, casting harsh shadows on peeling linoleum floors. A handful of round tables filled the space, surrounded by mismatched plastic chairs. This was where his employees spent their breaks, while executives dined in the marble-floored cafeteria 40 floors above. "New guy." Michael turned to see a young woman approaching. She was Latina, probably in her late 20s, with dark hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. Her business attire was professional, but worn, the kind of outfit someone wears when they can't afford to replace it often. "I'm Emma Rodriguez," she said, extending her hand. "I work in accounting upstairs. Haven't seen you around before." "Mike," he replied, shaking her hand. Her grip was firm, confident. "Mike Rodriguez. Just started today." Emma smiled. "Rodriguez, huh? We might be related." She laughed, and Michael found himself genuinely smiling back. "What floor are you covering?" "Wherever they need me, I guess," Michael said, realizing he hadn't actually been given specific instructions. "Well, if you're ever up on the 15th floor, stop by. That's where accounting is. Fair warning, though, it gets pretty crazy up there, especially lately." Before Michael could ask what she meant, Emma glanced at her watch and sighed. "Break's over. Back to the salt mines." She paused at the doorway. "Nice meeting you, Mike. Welcome to Harrison Industries." As she walked away, Michael noticed something that made his chest tighten. Emma's shoes were worn down at the heels, and there was a small tear in her blazer that had been carefully mended. These weren't the signs of someone who was financially comfortable. Over the next few days, Michael began to piece together the real picture of his company. He cleaned offices after hours, emptied trash cans, and listened. What he heard disturbed him. "I've been here 8 years, one employee complained to another as Michael mopped nearby. 8 years, and I'm still making barely enough to cover rent. Meanwhile, Harrison just bought another yacht." Michael wanted to defend himself. He'd bought that yacht as an investment, a place to host potential clients. But he stayed silent, continuing to push his mop in small circles. "At least you don't have kids," the other employee replied. "I'm working 2 jobs just to keep my daughter in daycare, and forget about saving for college." The conversations continued. Employees talked about choosing between groceries and gas money. They discussed working through illnesses because they couldn't afford to take sick days. They spoke about the executive bonuses announced last quarter while their own salaries had remained frozen for 2 years. But it was Emma who really opened Michael's eyes. He'd been cleaning the 15th floor for 3 nights when he noticed her still at her desk at 9 p.m. The accounting department was empty except for her, hunched over spreadsheets under the harsh glow of her computer screen. "Working late?" Michael asked, pushing his cart closer. Emma looked up, surprised. "Oh, hi, Mike. Yeah, just trying to catch up. We're short-staffed, and the quarterly reports are due tomorrow." Michael frowned. "Short-staffed? What happened?" "Budget cuts," Emma said, rubbing her eyes. "They laid off 3 people from our department last month. Now 5 of us are doing the work of 8. She gestured to the stack of papers beside her computer. "I've been here since 6 a.m. "That's 15 hours, Michael said, trying to keep the shock out of his voice. Emma shrugged. "It's fine. I need the overtime anyway. My mom's been sick and her medical bills." She trailed off, then forced a smile. "Sorry, you don't need to hear about my problem." But Michael did need to hear about them. Over the following week, he made it his mission to learn Emma's story. He timed his cleaning schedule to coincide with her late nights, and gradually, she began to open up. Emma had been working at Harrison Industries for 3 years. She'd started as a temp and worked her way up to a permanent position in accounting. She had a degree in finance from a state school, paid for with loans she was still repaying. Her mother had been diagnosed with diabetes 2 years ago, and the medication costs were crushing their family financially. "I love working here," Emma told him one night as he emptied the trash near her desk. "I really do. The work is challenging, and I'm good at it. But sometimes I wonder if it's enough, you know? I apply for promotions, but they always seem to go to people with connections or fancy degrees from expensive school." Michael's heart sank. He knew exactly which promotions she was talking about. Just last month, he'd approved the hiring of his country club partner's nephew for a senior analyst position. A position Emma was more than qualified for. "What would make things better?" he asked carefully. Emma laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You really want to know? Fair wages, reasonable hours, maybe some acknowledgement that we're human beings, not just numbers on a spreadsheet." She paused, then added quietly, "And a boss who actually cares about his employees instead of just his profit margin." The words hit Michael like a physical blow. He'd always prided himself on being a good leader, but here was proof that he'd failed in the most fundamental way. That weekend, Michael couldn't stop thinking about Emma and the other employees he'd observed. He'd built his company to be successful, but success for whom? His shareholders were happy, his executives were well compensated, but the people who actually kept the company running were struggling. Monday morning brought a new crisis. Michael was cleaning the break room when he overheard a group of employees talking in hushed, urgent tone. "Did you hear about Emma?" one of them was saying. Michael's hands stilled on the table he was wiping. "What about her?" another voice asked. "She's in the hospital, collapsed at her desk Friday night. Exhaustion, they think. She's been working herself to death." Michael's blood ran cold. He'd seen Emma that Friday night, looking pale and exhausted as she worked on yet another stack of reports. He should have said something, done something. "Who's covering her work?" someone asked. "They're redistributing it among the rest of us, as if we weren't already drowning." Michael left the break room and went straight to the bathroom, where he locked the door and called his assistant. "Jennifer, I need you to find out which hospital Emma Rodriguez from accounting was taken to," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "Sir, is everything all right? How did you—" "Just find out, and clear my schedule for the rest of the day." An hour later, Michael stood outside Emma's hospital room, still wearing his janitor's uniform. Through the glass, he could see her lying in the bed, looking small and fragile under the white sheets. Her mother sat beside her, holding her hand. Michael knocked softly and entered. Emma's eyes widened when she saw him. "Mike, what are you doing here?" "I heard what happened," he said simply. "I wanted to make sure you were okay." Emma's mother looked between them curiously. "This is Mike, Mom," Emma explained. "He's a friend from work." Michael introduced himself to Mrs. Rodriguez, then turned back to Emma. "The doctors say you're going to be fine, but you need to rest." Emma tried to sit up. "I have to get back to work. The quarterly reports, the reports can wait," Michael said firmly. "Your health is more important." "You don't understand," Emma said, her voice cracking. "If I miss too much work, they might fire me. I can't afford to lose this job." Michael felt something break inside his chest. This woman was lying in a hospital bed, worried about losing her job for working herself into exhaustion. How had he let his company become a place where employees felt they couldn't take care of their own health? That night, Michael made a decision that would change everything. Tuesday morning, Michael Harrison walked into his own building through the main entrance for the first time in a week. He was wearing his usual $3,000 suit. His hair was perfectly styled and his shoes were polished to a mirror shine. Employees scattered out of his way as he strode toward the elevator, their whispered conversations falling silent at his approach. But instead of going to the executive floor, Michael pressed the button for the 15th floor. The accounting department buzzed with nervous energy as he entered. Word of the CEO's unexpected visit had already spread, and employees were frantically trying to look busy. "Where is Emma Rodriguez's desk?" Michael asked the department supervisor. "Mr. Harrison, if this is about her absence, I can explain. I just asked where her desk is." The supervisor led him to Emma's workstation. Her desk was exactly as Michael remembered it, organized but cluttered with work, a small framed photo of her mother tucked beside her computer monitor, and a coffee mug with a chip in the handle. Michael picked up the stack of papers Emma had been working on before her collapse. Quarterly reports, budget analyses, reconciliation spreadsheets, all meticulously detailed, all bearing signs of the long hours Emma had put into them. "How many people are currently working in this department?" Michael asked. "5, sir. We had to make some cuts." "And how many people were working here a year ago?" 8, sir." Michael nodded slowly. "I see. And who made the decision to cut 3 positions while maintaining the same workload?" The supervisor shifted uncomfortably. "That came from upstairs, sir." "Budget requirements." "From me, you mean?" "Yes, sir." Michael set down the papers and looked around the department. Every desk showed signs of overwork. Stacks of documents and multiple coffee cups, employees who looked tired and stressed. "Effective immediately," Michael announced, his voice carrying across the room. "This department will be restored to full staffing. We'll be hiring 3 new accountants, and I want them in place within 2 weeks." Murmurs rippled through the office. The supervisor looked stunned. "Furthermore," Michael continued, "anyone who's been working mandatory overtime will receive comp time at double the rate, and I want a full review of our salary structure. If our employees are working 2 jobs to make ends meet, then we're not paying them enough." He turned to leave, then paused. "One more thing. When Emma Rodriguez returns from the hospital, I want to see her in my office. Not for disciplinary action," he added quickly, seeing the supervisor's expression. "For promotion." Michael spent the rest of the week implementing changes throughout Harrison Industries. He increased the facilities budget for the employee break room, installed better lighting and comfortable furniture. He reviewed the healthcare plan and increased the company's contribution to employee premiums. He established a hardship fund to help employees dealing with medical emergencies or other financial crises. But the most important change was personal. Every day, Michael made time to walk through different departments, not as the CEO making an inspection, but as someone genuinely interested in his employees' work and well-being. Friday afternoon, Emma returned to work. Michael watched from the executive floor as she entered the building, moving slowly but looking much better than she had in the hospital. He gave her time to settle in before making his way down to accounting. "Emma," he said, approaching her desk, "could I speak with you in my office?" Emma's face went pale. Around the department, conversations stopped as everyone turned to watch. "Mr. Harrison, if this is about my absence, I have a doctor's note." "It's not about your absence," Michael said gently. "Please, just come with me." The elevator ride to the executive floor was silent. Emma kept glancing at Michael nervously, clearly expecting the worst. When they reached his office, Michael gestured for her to sit in one of the leather chairs facing his desk. "Emma," he began, "I owe you an apology." She blinked in confusion. "Sir? You've been working here for 3 years. In that time, you've consistently exceeded expectations, taken on additional responsibilities, and shown remarkable dedication to this company. And I've failed you." Emma shook her head. "Mr. Harrison, I don't understand. You worked yourself into a hospital bed because I created an environment where employees feel they can't take care of their own health. That's not the kind of company I want to run, and it's not the kind of leader I want to be." Michael opened a folder on his desk. "I'm offering you a promotion to senior financial analyst with a 40% salary increase and a signing bonus to help with your mother's medical expenses." Emma's mouth fell open. I don't know what to say." "You don't have to say anything. You've earned this, Emma. You should have had it a long time ago." Emma was quiet for a long moment, staring at the offer letter in her hands. When she looked up, her eyes were bright with tears. "Why now?" she asked. "What changed?" Michael leaned back in his chair, considering his answer. "Sometimes it takes seeing things from a different perspective to realize what's really important. This company's success means nothing if the people who make it possible are struggling." As Emma left his office with her promotion letter, Michael felt something he hadn't experienced in years: pride in being a leader, not just a boss. The changes at Harrison Industries didn't happen overnight, but they were substantial and lasting. Employee satisfaction scores improved dramatically. Turnover rates dropped. Productivity actually increased when people weren't exhausted and worried about making ends meet. And Michael learned something valuable about leadership. True success isn't measured just in profit margins and stock prices. It's measured in the lives you impact and the community you build. 6 months later, Michael still occasionally walked through the building, no longer disguised as a janitor, but as himself, a CEO who had learned to see his employees not as numbers on a spreadsheet, but as the heart of his company. Emma thrived in her new role, eventually leading a team that revolutionized the company's financial reporting system. Her mother's medical bills were manageable now, and for the first time in years, Emma could focus on her work without the constant stress of financial insecurity. But perhaps the most important change was the culture Michael had fostered, one where employees felt valued, heard, and respected. It turned out that when people feel secure and appreciated, they do their best work. And when they do their best work, everyone succeeds. The janitor's disguise had taught Michael that real leadership isn't about the view from the top floor. It's about understanding the view from every floor and making sure that everyone in the building has a chance to reach their potential.